Hey guys, welcome back to another S&P 500 technical analysis. So I'll give it to you right away. This one's going to be a bummer because it's almost certainly going to be theta plays. In fact, I think in the short term anyway, we've run out of plays we can even do directly on SPY. And I will get into an explanation of why that is in the technical analysis. But in the future, I'm going to start integrating more specific technical analysis on just specific tickers, and we're going to be integrating more earnings technical analysis into this also, because unfortunately, I think the real fun with SPY in the long term is probably done. We had some plays of a lifetime, but I think it's time to get back to being real traders. Anyways, let's actually just get into the technical analysis. Okay, so the first bit of news is going to be tracking the coronavirus cases in the United States, which have showed no sign of decreasing at all since the reopening, especially in Florida. Florida has been hit very hard. The next bit of news is actually going to be a DD post on Wall Street Bets. I know, I cannot fucking believe it. But I read through this guy's DD and it actually is pretty solid. And it's in regards to the upcoming vote on a stimulus. It looks like House Democrats have currently passed a second stimulus, and they have a bunch of ideas about what they want to put into it. There's going to be a second stimulus check, debt relief, student loan forgiveness, hazard pay, 6 months more of COVID-19 unemployment, housing and food assistance, and nearly $1 trillion in aid for state and local governments. However, House and Senate Republicans have made it pretty clear that they have no interest in a lot of this. There is almost certainly not going to exist a stimulus check and unemployment benefits in the form that we saw in the first stimulus check. I'll go ahead and link this in the description down below. It's actually a really solid DD for what you would expect the content on Wall Street Bets to be. So shout out to user Milt Davis for doing it. The third bit of notable news is California has shut down once again. California is what? The world's 9th biggest economy, and they're re-shutting down bars, and it looks like restaurants too. Also looks like hair salons are being shut down once again. As to what effect that's going to have in the stock market, we've obviously been pretty surprised at how little effect these shutdowns have had in the stock market to begin with. I mean, the initial panic was huge, but right now SPY is sitting at 320, and I have no reason to believe that it's going to go down significantly anytime in the future. Do I think it'll go up a huge amount? No, but we'll get into that later. Fourth bit of notable news is when asked, Texas Governor Greg Abbott says there is no shutdown coming as coronavirus cases surge. You know, a lot of these southern states, I doubt we're going to see reclosures from them anytime soon. I think they're just going to ride out the death toll. They've just decided that the deaths are worth not absorbing the economic effects of coronavirus. Last bit of notable news is Tesla has earnings this week. And normally I wouldn't talk about specific earnings in an S&P 500 technical analysis, but I think the Tesla one's going to be pretty worth watching. Tesla in the past has not necessarily had great earnings at all, but the amount of speculation into this company is absolutely insane. I think it far surpasses what anyone would have ever thought could possibly happen with Tesla. You know, I was shocked when it got into like the 800 range, but I thought, okay, that's for a company that could potentially change the world. That's not crazy speculation. It's just very highly speculative. But now that we're getting up into the $2,000 range, holy shit. I mean, the volume profile in this company just it looks terrifying to me. I'm still holding Tesla from an 800 share price. I've got a stop on it. I'm not too worried about it unless there's absolutely no bids on a crash in Tesla. Then I think I'll be able to sell out at a profit. But as far as entries for this earnings, we'll get into how Tesla has performed during earnings in the past and maybe try to come up with some plays. Although personally, I'm too terrified to make any kind of play on Tesla other than just holding shares. I think selling puts is absolutely insane, and selling calls is obviously absolutely insane. And any constructed position is going to involve selling puts or calls somehow. You could hold a call on Tesla that's very limited loss. And I mean, I've seen people make fortunes off of Tesla calls, 0-day Tesla calls too. Absolutely the most astounding thing I've ever watched before. But that's it for the news. Let's get into the actual TA. So starting off in the 1 week, as is tradition, we can see we just kind of got faked out on the last TA I published. The MACD looked like it was heading down there for a minute. We probably should have seen that coming because it faked us out twice before, and then it just reversed on upwards. The KDJ remains overbought, but it's kind of this steady overbought somewhere in the 70 through 80 range, and it just doesn't seem to be giving up. And the net volume seems to just be favoring the buy side on the weekly over and over and over again. Even when it looks like it's turning down, it just turns back up. So obviously the consumer demand for equities has just spiked too much in order for us to see another capitulation. And all the major resistances that I thought we might see a reversal at, we've just kind of slowly made our way through. So there isn't a lot of excitement in SPY right now. This is why I'm saying in the future I'm going to be doing more earnings plays, things like that people can follow if they want. Obviously it's at your own risk, but I think the real fun roller coaster shit with SPY is pretty much over for us. Sorry, I know, sad TA. So our most significant support and our what happens to be the point of control on the volume profile is around 301, 303. So if I'm going to go long on a bunch of calls or make a big directional play, I want to see us somewhere around 303, which is slightly possible. We have this trend line up here, which I thought would play as a resistance. That would give us a 316, 37, probably 318 target for entering into long puts or shorting the stock, but it's kind of working its way up to there too. The question is like how fast. With the news of a second stimulus bill, I think it's honestly kind of likely we see the 330 range, which is unbelievable. I mean, if you told me that SPY could make it to all-time highs with all of California closed down, I'd say you're insane, but the levels of speculation in this market have just far exceeded what I think any trader saw coming. So moving on to the daily. The daily's kind of the same story except with a little bit more detail. What we see is this convergent wave pattern. Starting from our initial crash down, we saw big wave down, big wave up, smaller wave down, and now it's just even smaller. So I think the likely result here is just sideways. There might be a short-term sell-off within the next week and a half or something like that. But with how high implied volatility is right now, it just does not, you can't possibly justify making a directional play with options. Now, selling for premium, I think, is a different story. That'd be a great idea if you want to do that. If you want to do a theta play, you could sell a put or a call, and you could sell a put or a call outside of these major resistances and supports. And I think in that way, you actually beat the odds a little bit. The typical dogma is you want to sell one standard deviation away to get a 68% chance of winning on that option. But I think with how tight we are between our supports and resistances here, you can actually get a little bit more premium and sell a little bit closer and still have the same odds on that being a winning play. KDJ is doing the exact same thing it's doing on the weekly. It's kind of staying between 70 and 80. It's in the overbought range, but it seems to just want to remain overbought. It's not significantly trending into the upper 90s or 100s or anything like that. It's just kind of staying at a slightly high RPM. Going to the 4-hour 4 hours, the same story, that same convergent wave pattern. That's just makes it more and more obvious that we're not really going to get a whole lot of action on SPY, and that the right thing to do here is probably to make theta plays. KDJ is 90, so it's a little bit overbought, but not crazy. Net volume positive, looking pretty bullish. And then the MACD is kind of converging downwards a little bit, but not significantly enough to, like I said, make a huge directional bet. All right, so let's swap over to TradingView and take a look at that. So when we look at the volume profile in TradingView, you can see what I was really talking about, where there's not really a lot of good directional plays you can make here. You see these big bars below the current market price, and our visible range here is just from that initial coronavirus crash in early February or mid-February, I think that was, to now, which is kind of the important part, because the people who are going to be active in buying and selling were active during that period, obviously. And what it means when we have these big bars below is there was a lot of buying and selling in that period, and there was obviously more buying than selling, otherwise the price wouldn't go up. So a lot of the people who bought in that range, they're making money. There's no reason for them to sell unless they see some news catalyst that terrifies them. And it's not like these people haven't heard of coronavirus. They're all logical players in this market. And I think they saw this as a great opportunity to buy in, and they're not going to sell off till there's some bad news that panics them. And everything's priced in. Coronavirus couldn't look more awful for the US right now. And I'm sure these people are 100% aware of the numbers, but they have profitable positions. They have a good entry, or as good of an entry as they think they could have gotten. And I think most of them are willing to hold. And you can see volume tapers off up here. And what happens is there are people who bought up here who got obviously totally screwed, at least in the short term anyway. And what's going to happen is they're definitely going to take profit up there, which will act as resistance, but there's no big bars overhead anymore for us to fight through. And there's been a couple of weeks where I thought for sure the number of people taking profit at the 313 price level was going to drive us back down. And sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. I couldn't be more sure that these bars are not significant enough to drive the price down if good news continues to come out. People are rushing into equities right now because they know with the amount of money that the government is printing, there's going to be absolutely no way that we don't see inflation. And we can see this buy gold in precious metals simultaneously trending up as SPY is, that people are really just looking to put their money anywhere else but cash. Now, as far as why I think writing options right now is a better play than buying options, is because although we have this narrow trading range, our historical volatility down here is still relatively high. When you go back throughout the history of SPY over the last 10 years, all right, so compared to this gigantic increase in relative volatility, if you take the most recent relative volatility, it's still higher than it has been in almost all of SPY's history in the last 10 years. So you're still getting great premiums for selling these options. And if you're like me and don't believe that a lot of movement here is possible at this point, without some gigantic news catalyst, then sell options, because volatility is definitely going to decrease. So this week, I think it's going to have to be a put credit spread. If I have to choose something, I want theta on my side. I guess I'm slightly bullish because there's going to be stimulus news coming out soon. Congress is going to be back in session this week, so I imagine we're going to hear a lot more about what Republicans want in the stimulus plan. And it really doesn't even matter what they want on it. Just the idea that Republicans and Democrats are both on the same page that there needs to be a second stimulus is going to get the market excited. Now, the most significant area of resistance we've seen has been 323. The market has retested this level, I think 3 or 4 times now. So once it breaks over 323, I guarantee it's going to be a ride up. And we've seen a lot of support in the 316, 318 area. So if you're feeling really bullish, then you can pick up a call for maybe 328, 330, around that area. Now, personally, I don't feel strong enough about a directional movement upward quickly enough to justify going long on a call and having theta just kill me. I'd rather do a put credit spread. That way, if the run up doesn't happen this week, then whatever, time was on my side. It just ate up that, whoever bought that option from me, ate up all their potential profit and gave it right back to me. So ultimately, that's up to you. Any position you take at your own risk. I just do this so people can see how technical analysis is actually done instead of some woo-woo bullshit that a lot of other traders are offering on YouTube right now. No classes, everything's free. Just leave a like and subscribe, please. And if you like any of the charts I use Webull. There will be a referral link down below. And like I said, keep in mind, I'm going to start doing technical analysis on more specific stocks that I think can have some good pop and intraday movement. So if you're looking to get into day trading or like swing trading like that, go ahead and subscribe. We're definitely going to have to get back to normal in the coming days here. It seems like SPY movement and volatility is definitely on the decline. So if you made it big on this swing, congratulations. If you want to keep trading, it's time to put your big boy pants on and actually learn something and become a real trader, because the SPY fun, I'm sorry, is probably done. All right, take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching.